if you look at your phone within, like, the first 3 minutes of waking up, you have already surrendered control of your day's dopamine production.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, you've essentially handed the steering wheel of your brain over to algorithms, to emails, and just the chaotic demands of everyone else.
You're playing defense before you even get out of bed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Have you ever noticed how the people who seem to navigate every day with this unshakable focus and consistent energy, they never seem to start their mornings in a frantic rush?
They really don't.
Right. So today, we are going on a deep dive into an animated video script that breaks down the 7 morning habits of highly successful people.
And, if you're listening to this, you are probably already familiar with the usual tropes of morning routines.
Yeah, the classic stuff.
Right. We aren't here to pretend that, like, drinking water or making a to-do list is some undiscovered magic trick. The value of this source material isn't in revealing a secret new behavior.
So what is it then?
Well, the real insight lies in the mechanics of how these specific behaviors compound when they're strung together. We tend to look at a productive day and assume that person just operates on a completely different frequency.
Like they're just biologically superior or something?
Exactly. But what this script does beautifully is deconstruct that frequency. It argues that success isn't a personality trait at all. It is a meticulously engineered sequence of physical and mental primers that start at the exact moment you open your eyes.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because our mission today is to extract the actual blueprint from this script, the why and the how behind the sequence, so you can cut through all that self-help information overload.
Sounds like a solid plan.
Yeah. So the source begins by focusing heavily on claiming the environment, specifically the element of time. The text explicitly states that the morning is the most peaceful, valuable time.
Right, before the chaos hits.
Exactly. And while the rest of the world is sleeping, successful people are preparing. They even drop this heavy quote, "He who wins his morning wins his day."
What's fascinating here is how that quote establishes the morning as a tactical arena, You are either winning it or losing it based on how you engage with your environment right off the bat.
I have to pause us here, though, and kind of push back on this wake up early mandate.
Oh, sure.
Because, frankly, the whole 5 a.m. club thing is a massive productivity cliche at this point.
Oh, sure.
What if someone is, like, biologically wired as a night owl?
That's a really fair point.
Does this source allow for different chronotypes, or is it just strictly prescribing early rising as a moral imperative?
That is a necessary pushback, especially since we know circadian rhythms vary wildly among individuals. But if we look closely at the text, the underlying logic isn't necessarily about the arbitrary numbers on a clock.
Okay, so it's not just about seeing a 5 on the alarm.
No, not at all. It is about a very specific environmental state, namely the absence of external friction. The source emphasizes that when the world is awake, you are constantly reacting to it.
Yeah, the texts, the noise.
Exactly. But when the world is asleep, you are completely proactive. For the vast majority of society, that window of uninterrupted silence just happens to be in the early morning.
Oh, I see.
It is about establishing a defensive perimeter around your attention before society starts demanding things of you.
That makes a lot of sense. So you are dictating the terms of engagement before the battle even starts.
Precisely.
So if we assume you've successfully secured that quiet, uninterrupted time, the source moves immediately into physical inputs. And the very first action it prescribes is drinking 1 to 2 glasses of water right after waking up.
Just a simple glass of water.
Yeah, it takes 30 seconds. But the source explicitly notes it has a full-day impact on brain function. I kind of think of this physical routine like booting up a computer.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Right. You wouldn't open your 20 heaviest applications the exact second you hit the power button. You have to let the system load, run its hardware diagnostics.
Yeah, you have to let the operating system wake up. Let's look at the physiological mechanism behind that water habit, actually. While you sleep, you are essentially fasting for 7 to 8 hours.
So,
But more importantly, your respiratory system is constantly losing water vapor with every single breath. By the time you wake up, your body is in a significant moisture deficit.
wow, so you're already behind.
Exactly. Furthermore, during sleep, your brain is performing massive cellular repair, flushing out toxins through the glymphatic system. This process actually causes brain tissue to lose water.
Wait, really? The brain tissue itself?
Yes, quite literally. When you wake up, your brain is dehydrated, which is a primary biological driver of that cognitive sluggishness or, that brain fog we all feel.
So it is not just about quenching your thirst.
Yeah.
It is a biological reset. You are reinflating the cognitive tissue so your brain can actually process the day.
Spot on.
And following that logic, Once a hydration is taken care of, the source insists on moving the body, prescribes exactly 20 to 30 minutes of brisk walking, yoga, or light exercise.
And the core argument the source makes here is that a mind only works at full capacity when the body is healthy. They totally refuse to decouple the two.
They're a package deal.
Right. If you look at the neuroscience of waking up, your body naturally spikes cortisol, the stress hormone, in the morning to pull you out of sleep.
Okay, yeah.
This is called the cortisol awakening response. If you just sit at a desk with that spiked cortisol, it translates directly into anxiety and jitteriness.
Oh, wow. But if you move, you metabolize it.
Exactly. You burn it off.
I like to think of this sequence like setting a thermostat in a house. Most people wake up and act like a thermometer, you know?
How do you mean?
Well, they just step into the day and react to whatever temperature the environment happens to be. If the day is stressful, their temperature rises. If it's slow, they drop.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, but by drinking that water to jumpstart the biological systems and then doing 20 minutes of intentional movement to process that morning cortisol, you are acting as the thermostat.
You're setting the baseline.
Right. You are actively programming the internal temperature of your physiology before the external environment can dictate it to you.
That analogy holds up perfectly, especially when you consider the specific duration the text suggests. They aren't telling you to do some grueling 2-hour CrossFit session.
No, thankfully.
Right. They advise 20 to 30 minutes. That is highly intentional. It is enough to increase blood flow, release endorphins, and fully wake up the nervous system.
But it avoids systemic exhaustion.
Exactly. You are priming the engine to run efficiently. You are not draining the fuel tank before you even start your work.
All right, so our internal thermostat is set, the physical engine is primed. Now the deep dive transitions into tuning the mind, which is arguably where the highest stakes are.
Without a doubt.
There is a brilliant structural connection in the source material here. It pairs the cultivation of internal positivity with a brutal defense against external noise.
The duality here is really fascinating. On the internal cultivation side, the text outlines meditation and gratitude.
Right, habits 4 and 7 kind of playing off each other.
Exactly. The instruction is to sit in silence for just a few minutes, focus on the breath, and explicitly express gratitude for the good things in your life.
Okay.
The source claims this generates a positive energy that anchors the entire day and aggressively reduces negative thinking.
I mean, I understand the breathwork part for reducing stress, but how does gratitude actually function as a mechanism here? Is it just about, like, feeling warm and fuzzy?
Not at all. It is about neurological grounding.
Yeah.
When you consciously focus on gratitude, you are forcing your prefrontal cortex to search for positive inputs.
Okay, so it's an active process.
Very active. And this act downregulates the amygdala, which is the brain's threat detection center. You are essentially telling your nervous system, we are safe, we have what we need, we are not in danger.
Wow.
It fosters a profound sense of contentment and cognitive flexibility.
Which makes the contrast with the other half of this duality so striking, because right after discussing this internal piece, the source lays down a strict rule about mobile phones.
Ah, yes. The phone rule.
Yeah. It notes that most people check social media immediately, but successful people absolutely do not. They keep the first hours of the day entirely for themselves.
It's a non-negotiable for them.
So I have to ask, if gratitude builds this internal fortress of contentment, does grabbing the phone essentially act as a wrecking ball to that fortress?
Completely. If we connect this to the bigger picture, social media and email, by their very architectural design, are algorithms of lack.
Algorithms of lack. I like that phrasing.
It's true, though. They are engineered to show you what you are missing, what emergencies need your attention, or what someone else has achieved. They foster craving, comparison, and reactivity.
So you spend 20 minutes engaging your parasympathetic nervous system to feel safe and content, and in the moment you look at Instagram or your inbox, you are voluntarily dropping the drawbridge to your fortress.
You're just letting them storm the castle.
Yeah, you are letting millions of screaming strangers into your bedroom. You are handing your dopamine regulation over to an algorithm. The source goes so far as to claim that this specific boundary, keeping your distance from the mobile phone in that first hour, brings the biggest change in life.
The biggest change. That's a huge claim.
It is, but it makes sense because it forces you to focus on your own goals rather than becoming an extra in everyone else's movie. Reserving that first hour is the ultimate exercise in psychological boundary setting.
You are hardwiring the belief that your mind, your goals, and your peace take precedent over any external demand.
Exactly. It keeps you on the offensive.
Right, because if you start your day looking at someone else's highlight reel, you are immediately playing defense.
100%.
I always struggle with that first hour of actual work, though, because the moment I sit down at my desk, I have 50 things staring at me, and they all feel super urgent.
All the never-ending to-do lists.
Yeah, it's overwhelming. How does the source suggest we filter that kind of noise once we've successfully defended our morning? Well, the source advocates for a brutal kind of constraint when it comes to planning the day.
Yeah.
It doesn't suggest writing down everything you need to do.
Oh, thank goodness.
Right. Instead, it advises writing down exactly 3 important tasks every morning and focusing entirely on completing them. The text argues that this specific limitation actually multiplies productivity.
Here's where it gets really interesting. If we consider the cognitive load of a massive to-do list, it makes me think of packing a carry-on suitcase for a trip.
Okay, I'm listening.
If you try to cram your entire wardrobe into that tiny bag, the zipper bursts, the clothes get severely wrinkled, and you end up dragging this massive heavy burden through the airport that completely exhausts you.
Sounds miserable.
It is,
Yeah.
and that is what burnout feels like. That's what happens when your task list has 20 items on it. By forcing yourself to pick only 3 items, you ensure you only pack what you actually need to survive the day.
You travel light.
Exactly. You travel light, and you actually get to your destination without tearing a muscle.
The suitcase analogy perfectly illustrates the psychology of decision fatigue. The human prefrontal cortex, which handles complex planning and prioritization, has a limited amount of energy each day.
That's like a battery.
Exactly. If you look at a list of 20 tasks, your brain expends a massive amount of energy just deciding what to do next.
Just looking at the list is exhausting.
Right. And this often leads to dopamine-driven busy work, doing the easiest, least important tasks just to feel the satisfaction of crossing something off.
Oh, I'm so guilty of that.
Oh,
You spend the whole day organizing your inbox instead of writing the proposal that actually matters.
Exactly. By restricting the list to 3 essential tasks before the day even begins, you bypass that decision fatigue entirely. You remove the friction of choice.
That makes total sense.
The text emphasizes that it is not about doing everything, it is about doing the most essential things first.
And this theme of using hyper-specific constraints to avoid friction shows up again in the final habit the source discusses, which is continuous learning.
Yes, habit number 6.
The text states that learning should never stop. But the metric it provides isn't like going back to school for a degree. It is exactly 15 minutes a day.
Just 15 minutes.
You're reading a chapter of a book, listening to an audio program, or practicing a skill.
This raises an important question about how human ambition often becomes our biggest obstacle to progress.
How so?
Well, we have this macro ambition. We want to learn a new language, master coding, read 50 books a year.
Right, the big dreams.
But that sheer scale leads to micro paralysis. The psychological friction required to start a 2-hour study session after a long day is massive.
Yeah, you just end up watching TV instead.
Exactly. But turning that ambition into a hyper-manageable, bite-sized daily system completely circumvents that resistance. 15 minutes of learning is so small that the cognitive resistance is virtually 0.
You can't logically convince yourself you don't have 15 minutes.
You really can.
A page today can be a big success tomorrow. That is another fantastic quote directly from the text. It highlights the compounding interest of self-improvement.
Compounding is the perfect word for it.
Because you read one page or learn for 15 minutes and it feels like absolutely nothing on a random Tuesday. You don't feel smarter.
But it is the mathematical reality of consistency over intensity. Going to the gym for 9 hours on a Sunday will not get you in shape.
It'll probably just injure you.
Right. But going for 20 minutes every morning will, reading an entire textbook in one night will just give you a headache. Reading 15 minutes a day will actually give you an education.
It adds up fast.
Over a year, that 15 minutes a day translates to over 90 hours of dedicated, focused learning. You completely transform your knowledge base through tiny increments.
Which brings us to the ultimate synthesis of this deep dive. When we look at the underlying mechanics of all these behaviors, securing uninterrupted time, resetting biological hydration, metabolizing cortisol through movement,
Neurologically grounding through gratitude.
right? Defending against algorithmic dopamine, constraining decision fatigue with 3 tasks, and compounding knowledge in 15-minute blocks. The overarching thesis of the source becomes crystal clear.
It really does.
Success is not the result of one massive, dramatic, life-altering decision.
It rarely is. The text explicitly concludes that success is the result of small, positive habits repeated daily. It is the mundane, quiet discipline of the morning that creates the loud, visible victories of the afternoon.
But, and this is perhaps the most crucial piece of advice for you listening right now as you think about tomorrow morning, the source provides a very strict integration strategy. Do not try to implement all of these behaviors at once.
Keystone. Doing so is a guaranteed recipe for failure. Habit stacking requires a solid foundation.
So where should they start?
The source strongly advises adopting just one habit to start. Begin with the hydration. Or begin with keeping the phone out of the bedroom for the first hour.
Pick the easiest one.
Exactly. Wait until that single behavior becomes as automatic and thoughtless as brushing your teeth. Only when the cognitive friction of that habit is zero do you add a second one.
As the text reminds us, small steps, when taken consistently, lead to a big destination.
That's the golden rule right there.
So, what does this all mean for you? It means this deep dive is a practical tool you can start applying the exact moment you open your eyes tomorrow.
You have the structural blueprint now.
Yeah? You know how the mechanisms work.
Yeah.
You know how to program your internal thermostat, defend your mental space from the noise, and execute your day with engineered focus. The power of the morning is sitting right there, waiting for you to claim it.
But before we sign off, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over, one that extends the logic of the source material.
Oh, I love these. Lay it on us.
We've just proven that the way we spend our first hour dictates the trajectory of our entire day. But to successfully claim that morning environment, to wake up with the energy to hydrate and move and focus, what does the way we spend the last hour of our day say about us? Right. If the morning is the arena, does how we close out our night ultimately determine our ability to win the morning?
The night before, acting is the necessary prologue to the perfect morning. That is a fascinating question to consider as you wind down tonight. Thank you for exploring this framework with us on this deep dive.
It's been great.
May your tomorrow be filled with new hope, new energy, and new success.